Here we go. Here we go. We are live. Pontificators. It's Wednesday night. It's a Pontificator night. Yes, we have a dandy of a show for you. And yes, I said dandy. We're going to do some rapid fire topics. We got all the usual suspects here tonight. And oh my gosh, man. I don't know if you guys have heard this. Like, I know Alan Moore has thrown this around, but I've never really talked about it on a stream. And we got some really cool people to throw in their 2 cents. But Alan Moore just calling, comic books fascist. And I'm not sure if he's calling all comic books fascist or just like superhero comics. But we'll get into that. I have a Bleeding Cool article. I have what else do I have? I got a CBR article. And we can kind of use that as a point of reference and then get into it. We're also going to get into the WB layoffs. So sadly, 26% of their people have been let go. I think Cartoon Network is gone the way of the dodo. It's going to go bye-bye. And so I think we have we're going to do some PayPal talk as well. We're going to get into that. And probably a few other things, but before I go any further, I'm gonna start bringing some people in, man, because I get lonely. I get lonely very, very quickly. So let's get this party going with some Clint Holinsky. Yeah!
What up?
What's up, man?
What's up? What's going on?
Yeah, it's going down. It's going down.
Saying hey to everybody in the chat. We got a good crowd already in here.
Well,
giving everybody a hail out there and some fun topics tonight.
Yeah.
This is the great thing is like we never run out of shit to talk about week to week. There's always something going on.
That's when comics are cool again.
Exactly. The energy is hyped up.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of excitement, a lot of stuff, a lot of drama, a lot of what would you call it?
Coolness. Amazing.
The rivalries, it's like tension and drama build with a good rivalry, and it's the good guys against the bad guys. And guess what?
We're the good
Black
guys.
and white and CG are the good guys.
Sweet.
And the SJWs just keep showing themselves to be the bad guys.
Yeah. Art, what's your next project after Black and White? After Black and White, I personally want to jump right into the next series of Black and White. I think it's not going to be a series; it's going to be a one and done. And then I want to pitch a writer a Chrono Mechanic story, and I may have a penciler, and I have a few writers in mind, and I would love to do that and possibly work on 2 projects simultaneously. I haven't successfully been able to pull that off yet. But I am still working towards it. So let's bring some of the other guys in. Todd Mulrooney Dooney.
Hey, Art, did you get a haircut? It doesn't look like it.
That was a beauty. That was a beauty picture, man.
I was a mess, man. Let's find. I'll see if I can get that picture.
That should be your new profile pic on Twitter, man. that hair, and how squinty your eyes were. I know that feeling in the morning.
I can't believe it got that much traction. You throw this stuff out, you just think it's ridiculous, right? And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Oh shit!" So I just posted this. I may need a haircut. I called my wife up. I said, "You got to take a picture of me," and she snapped this beauty off. And yeah, look at this: 416 likes, 26 retweets.
Nice.
And so then I took a shower later, and I was like, "This is I do clean up nice." And then somebody wrote, "I like you better the other way." You guys are hilarious, man.
Just a trim.
Light trim. And nothing a little Brill Cream can't fix. Let me see what are some of the other ones. Oh yeah, just Sweet Empire Comics hat. Yeah, just hide it with that. A shower, perhaps. Grow it out. What was this from? Was this from Logan's Run? This guy. Do you guys remember?
Oh no, I don't think it's Logan's Run. Maybe Battlestar Galactica or something.
Yeah, maybe somebody in the chat.
Santa Claus.
I don't really like this one.
You're way better looking than him, Art.
Oh, thank you.
That's nice.
Grizzly Adams did have a beard. Wait, some of them I can't find. Oh yeah, you certainly do. Yeah, hippie. That's a good one. Late nights. I think somebody called. Oh, there it is. Hobo the Bear. That's the one I was looking for. Richie Dupe. Hobo the Bear. Art has probably the best lit studio in Comicsgate. Hell, Art. Yeah, and there's Clint. Art, you might need to call the cops. It looks like a dirty homeless man has broken into your drawing studio. And then, of course, there's this. You guys are the best, man. But that thing lit up, man.
That was funny stuff.
Yeah, this is the best crowd in the freaking world, man. Let's get Chris.
Hey,
what's up?
How's it going?
The was. Hey, I was looking at your equipment behind you.
I know.
I got some spiffy equipment like that too. Mine's from the late 70s, early 80s. When's yours?
78. Yeah, whoop, that's right. 78, both absolutely mint. And we're looking to add some more pieces. But
that's a wicked
like
setup.
That's the sweet spot for old school stereo gear. Is 1978 is when the receivers and everything completely.
Do you still have your turntable?
I have one on the way. My brother's mega into vinyl collecting. He's a music producer.
I have my original turntable, but somehow when I moved from California here, the cord it's one of those plug-in. It detaches from the turntable. I can't find the cord.
Well, I guess eBay's your friend, but it's one of those things where the turntable might be the one piece because where I would consider getting like a modern
updated.
Because they are better now, and I would argue, nobody makes receivers and tape decks anymore, but the ones from back then are certainly way better than anything that's been made since the 90s.
Yeah, I got my daughter. She loves vinyl, so
that's great.
Whatever, I got her a turntable and a whole system, and that thing rocks. So maybe I will look into a new turntable. Let's get Comic Book Bob in here. What's up, Bob?
Last again.
You're not laughing.
No,
best for
I'm
last.
just kidding. Art, you know what you need to do? You need to keep those two pictures, and you put one up, the Haggard one up is like during fulfillment, and the other one is like after fulfillment.
Before, after.
By the way, that was
before. You're crazy.
That was Logan's run.
You gotta get this friggin' page done.
That was Logan's run.
It was Logan. I was gonna say, it was Logan's
absolutely.
run.
Yeah,
that's the old man that they find where it's like, he's the one that was freezing everybody.
Yeah,
he was the guy that had freedom. Like they had never known anybody who had freedom, so he was
grew old.
Yeah, he's the one that, and they're all like, he's an old man at the end. And he's like, I'm so gonna get laid.
His face and everything.
All these hot women, and he's like, I'm so getting laid. You have no idea how long it's been.
He was the crazy cat lady.
That's a movie that's long overdue for a remake and could be fantastic.
I have no faith in them remaking that right.
Of course, they'll make a piece of shit, but Logan's Run, Rollerball, and Planet of the Apes were my little kid holy trinity of sci-fi. I think Rollerball still holds up.
Damnation Alley. Yeah, that's a movie that, especially it's timely too, considering everything.
Yeah,
Rollerball's so timely, man. That scene
was awesome.
The gun into that party, that thing freaked me out as a kid. I was like, why are they going nuts? And then you watch the movie, you start, because I was really young, and then you realize, well, all this stuff has been outlawed, and so bringing something like that in is really exciting.
And just the decadence of the lifestyle and everything. People don't realize that Rollerball's it's not about the game at all. It's a social commentary.
Exactly.
That fucking film is way ahead of its. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's like violence is like, this is what happens when people get pent up. They can't really express themselves. There's no because also like isn't physicality looked down upon in that?
Government controls everything. They control corporations acting as government control food. One sector controls food. One sector controls entertainment. One sector, so it's like that. And basically, people are are mindless methods that kind of like do what they're told so long as they don't rock the boat.
Dude,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was something to do with violence, though, because the rollerball was like a release. Like they could go and they could see this aggression and this
bread and
violence.
circuses.
What's that?
Yeah, it's
Gee,
bread and
I
circuses.
wonder why they don't put out movies like this anymore.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like
They were social commentary and warnings to society.
It's funny because that meme. Don't think, just consume product. That's what that movie is.
Yeah,
Don't think, just consume what we give you.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what this guy is a major consumer. He's consuming some coffee right now. He's like, why haven't I got in sooner? I don't know if they like me.
Bob,
Yeah.
I'm last.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, social commentary, man. But
I
like how
have an
Pedro's-
agenda, man. I have an agenda.
I like how he's sitting there tapping his cup. He's like, "Yes, Mr. Bond."
We just turned him into a pontificator villain.
Yeah, I know, dude. Like, how you guys doing? I have an agenda. It's for you to see how awesome Latin America is for tourism. So I'm doing videos. At some point, I have a wonderful video of why it's amazing to go visit Paraguay. So that's coming later after topics.
Cool.
So is this on your channel? You gonna do this on your channel?
No, I'm doing it right here. I have the video prop and ready.
Oh shit! Well, let's do it.
No, not right now. It's for later. We need to.
You gotta build up to it. Build up.
Yeah,
to
we're
it.
not
You're not
going
going to
to-
be doing those. You're not going to be doing those videos where you make tapas anymore. So those are my
No.
favorite.
No tapas. This is more about how cheap Paraguay is for tourism. And yeah, let's just talk about all the things when we get there. when
Real
we
quick,
get-
Art.
You got a sidetrack. We're all excited about Paraguay now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Real
he
quick,
brought
hey,
up
Art,
tapas, and I'm
share
hungry.
that picture I just shared real quick.
Oh, okay, sure. This one didn't
I
think
saw
what
this.
they meant by Daredevil being in She-Hulk. Shit!
And away we go.
Man, I'll
This
tell
is a-
you, I think I saw the first episode, maybe the second, and I did see that Daredevil episode because I just had to. I think
yeah.
that what's the actor's name?
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox
Charlie
is
Cox.
really, really good. And
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
tell you, he
Charlie
stole the
Cox.
show,
Oh, big time.
but that show is unredeemable. I don't
Oh,
even
no.
understand.
Yeah. It's
No,
not.
it-
It's broken. It's a broken product. It makes no sense.
It's
The
just-
episodes
some-
are about
Some
nothing.
things just don't translate well to television.
Yeah,
But
dude.
Daredevil, I thought was decent. It had some integrity to it.
Oh, yeah.
It was-
Yeah, I mean,
And when he-
the Netflix show was amazing.
When he walked
Yeah.
into the courtroom, he actually sounded like a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Charlie
then-
Cox brings the gravitas of both Matt Murdock and Daredevil.
And
Like,
Daredevil, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason they stole them from the Netflix and brought him over. It's like
Oh yeah.
he works as Daredevil big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
And
what
the
was it?
actress that they got for She-Hulk, she's really good, but they're just not giving her
Yeah,
anything.
This
This
goes
is
down
all,
to-
this is
what
all
we-
script, man. It's
Yeah.
all
Oh
the
yeah.
script's
It's all
fault.
writing. It's all great.
Yeah.
That thing.
Yeah.
Is anybody actually keeping up with it? I couldn't.
No, I just had to see the Daredevil because
Yeah.
the yellow and red suit. I was like, I got to see how it looks.
Yeah.
And I love the Daredevil character. I have since I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And for the most part, I mean, it was entertaining. They gave you a little bit of action. There was a neat contrast between his way of doing things and then her way of fighting crime. So there was some interesting stuff. The courtroom thing was great because he humiliated her
Oh yeah. dude.
in the courtroom.
He
And you know
walked
what?
the
The
floor
thing
with
is, I don't understand. Like one of my favorite dramas or favorite stories are courtroom dramas because they're so freaking amazing. That's why you can televise like the OJ trial or the Amber Heard trial, and people are captivated because there's so much stuff that in a good courtroom drama, and that's part of She-Hulk. And then I've heard the writers. They have no interest in even writing it as a freaking,
Do they know how? Because it really.
They don't know.
Courtroom
They have no
drama.
experience. They have no life
The
experience. to
courtroom
write.
drama part of it has been just wasted. Like
Ugh.
the storylines that they're doing, and it's like superhero courtroom drama, and they've completely wasted it because they don't have a sense for telling those kind of stories. They don't have the knowledge or the background. They're like it's so paper thin. All of these
Dude,
stories.
like,
The
it seems
Daredevil
like
one
they-
was far and away the best.
Yeah, dude. It seems like they saw 2 episodes of Ally McBeal and they went to writing.
Yeah,
All right,
you
all
have
right. Now you speak.
yeah, you have.
I think Todd's going
reasonably-
to talk.
You have to be reasonably intelligent, I think, to write a courtroom drama. And Todd's showing us his crotch.
Yeah, some crotch. That
What
was
the
a
hell's
nice crotch
going on
shot.
there,
Todd.
Todd?
We were talking about
What kind of
Cox.
show is this
so-
turning into?
Yeah.
He took- he-
Too early in the show.
Time for crotches.
Off your cock.
Yeah, we were talking about Cox, and he got the wrong idea.
Ah, oh,
Oh, look at this! Somebody's bringing in food. Look at this spoiled
Who's
guy.
that?
Oh my
Jesus,
god.
Todd. Wow.
Sounds
Oh
like,
my
thank
God.
you, mendicant. You may now go.
The pampered.
Yeah,
Did you get tapas?
get tapas with that and a cigar.
Oh my God, we
You
need
get no
we need a good we need a
Just-
Saul Goodman Hulk.
Just
I'm
a tobacco.
hungry. Now I'm hungry.
Wait. Somebody said in the chat, where was it? Not attractive enough. Oh, there it is.
Oh, the actress. Yeah.
Gnome.
She can be.
She's cute.
Yeah.
She's cute.
Something about the way she smiles just turns me off. I mean, I always do consensus. Like, are we cool? Are we cool?
Well, she's
No.
like like Hollywood is woke, but she's woke beyond woke top of woke, and then
Yeah, I think they don't give her anything on the show to make her seem interesting or attractive. I think she's kind of cute. I think the stand-in CG Hulk version of her is really weird looking.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, so
All her clothing is really unappealing. Like, she's not sexy. It's just, oh.
no.
Yeah, I didn't, just based on her visually, because I don't know her from anything, but I try to be a little open-minded because sometimes they'll hire an actor who has other attributes that will bring, like, what comes to mind, I think, is Chris Pine as Captain Kirk, and I was like, really? And then in the role, I was like, okay, I can see why they cast him. So, because he just had some of those qualities, even though he wasn't classically handsome like Shatner was in his youth. I try to wait before I pass judgment, but
I thought the recasting for the J.J. Abrams Star Trek was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was mostly really
Part.
good.
I thought some of the writing and they kind of they messed heavily with the Trinity, Bones, Spock, and of course Kirk. And then they threw the girl in the mix, and so that
They threw Uhura in there. My wife is a hardcore Star Trek fan, original series. It pissed her off. She thought they did a good job casting, like just what you're saying. It pissed her off so badly that they put Uhura and Spock together. Like that was like it was just like ugh.
Well, it also messed with the three of them, and it felt like the Bones character. They didn't know what to do with them. You know what I mean? Like, how
Uhura
could you be a
stole
Star Trek fan and not know
Uhura
that
stole
Bones
Bones' role.
Yeah, and I think the guy they cast for McCoy was fantastic.
Oh God,
Carl Urban
he played McCoy.
Carl Urban, yeah.
Murdered. Yeah, he murders that part.
He's a little too tall, but man, he just killed that role.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I'll tell you, Carl Urban is my black from Black and White.
Yeah,
I would
Carl
love
Urban's
that
the
guy.
bomb.
He's awesome in everything. But I think that is what's missing from the Star Trek reboot is the Trinity is not. I was hoping they would be developed in more than it has been, and it's kind of that should be the core of the.
With the
It's
few
the best
movies
part
they
of
did,
Star
they
Trek.
just skipped over a lot of the heart of Star Trek because you go from one movie to another. You don't have like a whole season to develop these guys, so they've skipped over and they've like nitpicked what they wanted to use.
Yeah, and he was good in Dread.
He was great in Dread. That movie was
great.
Dread
was
I
great.
think a little underrated that movie. I think it was just
But-
not bad.
I didn't like the movie per se, but I liked him as Dredd.
Yeah.
But the
I
movie
loved the
itself was
movie.
like,
I thought the movie was great.
All right,
Ooh.
let's get back on topic.
Hugh Jackman was a great Wolverine, but
Didn't fit the physical part of it.
no,
Yeah.
and I mean,
6'3"
tall.
or something.
Too tall.
he would have been too tall, but man, he would have played an awesome Wolverine.
Oh, Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, Carl Urban.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he could have pulled off the Wolverine, I think. Again, everybody's still too tall, but you don't cast short guys.
Hey, well, Tom Cruise is not tall.
Unless you're Maverick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're Maverick.
And you're wearing lifts.
Hey, Bob, can you find Carl Urban from Lord of the Rings? He was a
Yes.
pretty man
Yeah.
in Lord of the Rings.
Elmer.
He had long hair and stuff.
Elmer from Rohan.
Dude was a badass, man.
How long ago was that now? Because he was young.
Almost it's 20 years ago.
2003? 2003, I
Yeah,
think.
so Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like, what is a dwarf, an elf, and a ranger doing in Rohan? Speak quickly. Oh, shit. Yeah, dude, that was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a pretty man.
Whoa!
Amen.
When I saw him in other things, I was like, that's not the same guy, is it?
Right.
Yeah.
dude.
That's just me in 1990.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah.
That's
You know
him in
what?
his
That's
in his
me never.
that's him in his long-haired Brad Pitt phase.
Yeah, in the movie, he had a presence too. Like you'd go, I would follow this guy into battle. You know what I mean? And it's not just because I have a man crush on him.
Dude, I don't know, like the whole thing about like black people being orcs. Like I never got it.
That's such a stupid.
I saw the Lord of the Rings and I saw like, oh, they're chopping my head off. I was like, no, fuck that orc. It's like no.
Here's the thing, and I actually that was I can't remember whose channel it was. He's a CG guy that talks about Dungeons and Dragons because that's where that stupid chick did that video, and I was like, no, you guys always saw them as minority people. And then
projection.
So everybody else does too.
Projecting
Yeah,
the
it's a
racism.
projection.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you
I
guys
always saw them as monsters who were just killing people.
Imagine Danny DeVito as Wolverine.
Oh God.
You know what? He could have pulled it off with the right attitude. Like, dude, he is him, right? Like, let's not say.
No.
And Pedro, I will reach through this friggin' monitor and slap your ass.
DeVito was born to play the Penguin. I mean, that's the
Did you guys see? Okay, when Lizzo played that flute at
oh my God.
They superimposed a picture of Danny DeVito in that white underoos from Batman Begins when he's playing the Penguin. They put that next to her and they're like, can you tell the difference?
Dude, like
she's the exact same shape that he was.
DeVito was fucked.
Oh shit! Oh my God, it was funny.
I don't know, man.
It was funny. All right, get us back on topic.
Yes. All right, you guys. Well, we're going to lead off with some fascist talk from the great Alan Moore. I'll tell you, like, what do they say? Never meet your heroes or never whatever. It's like the more you find out about Alan Moore, the more you dislike him, and then you kind of reflect that into his work. You know
what? I don't give a shit. He was a great writer. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if he's kicking puppies. He was the best in the 80s.
I don't know, but you start. This is where I go with this, Chris. Okay, it's like he says, I think of superhero comics are fascist, and we'll give you more context in a bit. But then you think like you got to reevaluate everything that he wrote. Like, was he thinking that at the time? Watchmen is definitely one of those. That's a really cynical, take on superheroes and all that. And because of that, it's genius. But then you go, was that just like the pinnacle of his angry, just like hatred towards superhero comics? Because his Watchmen stuff was great, but I can't really think of any like of his straightforward superhero stuff that was that great.
Well, Swamp Thing, he did that Superman annual that was really, really good with Dave Gibbons.
Was that the Man of Tomorrow or whatever, the George?
That was great.
Silver Age.
But his Swamp Thing run, which is I think just
awesome,
24.
But it's not superheroes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Technically,
it is. It is very much body horror.
Yeah. He handled it more as horror, and there were some superhero cameos in it that he handled really well. But I think you're right. Like recalling, his just interviews in Comics Journal shit from fanzines way back in the day, about the time of Watchmen, that he did express that opinion that he thought there was little fascism in the superhero model.
Yeah,
know,
he definitely
and-
expressed through the what's his name, Rorschach character.
Yeah, and I thought that was
Rorschach.
actually
You know,
an
that
interesting
character
point of
was-
view. I mean, because if you think about it, we have guys like Superman who can do anything. You you know, he was the very first person to even consider that. So at the time, I thought it was a fresh point of view. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And this is before we had ever seen any of the negative characters, like the characters that like a Superman gone bad characters that's been done to death now. But he was the first person I think to make that point. Like these are super powerful beings in a world of regular people, and would anybody really, could anybody face up to them? Can anybody do anything about it? And they can oppose their will on
Right. Well,
everyone,
we'll get
essentially, yeah.
into that more. I want to give everybody a little bit of context to what we're talking about, and then we can kind of, more or less armchair, analyze Alan Moore and what kind of person he is and why he does.
But
all
that's
this stuff.
crazy. That headline.
Yeah, Alan Moore
I
on
had-
superhero movies as a possible precursor to fascism. Yeah, because
Wow.
I think he also thinks it will influence people to be fascists. So it
Wow.
doesn't go out of his way to talk about superheroes and comics much. What happens is that a journalist will ask him about superheroes and comics, and he will tell them what he thinks. And then the internet explodes again, asking why. He is always going on about it. And with the new release of whatever his new book, somebody said already like that he does this whenever he wants to go on a book tour or something.
He does have
he's
it. It does seem to be a pattern.
Dude, like
Yeah,
this
so he can get a
headline-
headline. So,
Yeah, dude. This headline is
so then he said, "I'm definitely done
homeless man
with
talking to
comics,
himself."
even though."
No, go ahead, Art. Art, I think we lost him.
Yeah. He
there
says,
you
I'm
go.
definitely done with comics, even though we know that the next year's upcoming release, Man and Serpent, what is this? Wait, irresponsive. Can you guys still see this? I just got a pop up. Okay. So then he, there's some kind of delay here. It's weird. So he basically goes into, I'm definitely done with comics, haven't written one for 5 years. And so he just seems like he's kind of angry and done with comics. He says, as well, here compares the desire to watch superhero films as leading the worst of politics. Hundreds of thousands of adults lining up to see characters and situations that had been created to entertain the 12-year-old boys. And it was always boys of 50 years ago. I didn't really think that superheroes were adult fare. I think, what? He didn't think that. Then why did... Well, anyways, I think that this was a misunderstanding born of what happened in the 80s, to which I must put my hand up and consider a share of blame, though it was not intentional. When things like Watchmen were first appearing, there were an awful lot of headlines saying comics have grown up. I tend to think that no comics hadn't grown up. There were a few titles that were more adult than people were used to, but the majority of comic titles were pretty much the same as they'd ever been. It wasn't comics growing up. I think it was more comics meeting the emotional age of the audience coming the other way. I said roundabout 2011 that I thought that it had serious and worrying implications for the future if millions of adults were, what is that, queuing up to see Batman new movies because that kind of, what is that I know what it means. It's like being an infant, being a young.
Infantilized?
Infant, yeah, I still can't say it. That urge towards a simpler time, simpler realities that can often be the precursor to fascism, and that during recent political ructions, many of the biggest films were superhero movies. Okay, so he goes on and on about that stuff. He likes to think that V for Vendetta is probably the only good story that he did because it kind of delves into that, and he likes the idea that people get it and are wearing the masks and all that other stuff. So so then he goes on. He also talks in CBR. I think this one came out a couple days ago, and he talks about. Let me see here. That's not the right one. Here we go. Yeah, this guy. I think he's a lunatic. I think he's a nut.
Well, he's a
I
dude.
think
He's a
he's
follower.
always been, yeah.
He's a follower of Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn. I mean, he thinks he was a freaking wizard.
Yeah,
He got into a
well,
wizard
he-
battle with Grant Morrison. So come on.
And he's also fully prepared to manipulate the media to give them exactly
Yes.
what they want to hear. There's a ton of people out there that hate superhero comics. There's a ton of people out there that hate the idea of truth, justice, the American way, and Batman fighting crime. So to say that these superheroes lead to fascism, like the media is going to jump all over that. It's like it's bread and butter for him. He knows exactly how to, get his little attention spot, and he's long faded away from like being a real, creator in comics. He hasn't done anything in decades.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in what he said, though. I mean, I think it's true that a lot of the blame, if that's what we're going to call it, of pushing comics into a more, mature, violent kind of era. I think the two books that you could pin that squarely on are Miller's Dark Knight and Alan Moore's Watchmen. Very specifically, I think those mark the end, the very, very pointed end of the Bronze Age. And from there, it has a lot to do with just the commercial success of both of those books, that everybody followed suit, because, there were rumors going around in those days that Frank Miller made $250,000 per issue in royalties. That was unheard of, in those days. So everybody just jumped on board and, wanted to do likewise.
And I think fundamentally that was the problem. I've said this before. It wasn't what Alan Moore and Frank Miller did. It was all the watered down people that came afterwards that didn't fully understand what they were doing, and then turned it into kind of like this. It was more of exploitive than it was interesting. It was kind of what did I say? Like when the New 52 came out, it was like they said we're going to pursue the more adult. We're not really going to pursue the kids anymore. We're going to this was DC saying these things, and then I was like, it's not really more adult. It's just more gratuitous. Like comic books have delved into more adult stuff. Demon in a Bottle, things like that. In the past, they've delved into racism. Like really adult topics, but they weren't gratuitous. Like what comic books thinks that are more mature now are just gratuitous comics. Like they'll show sex, they'll show, basically they're just slapping an R on the comic books and saying that they're more adult, but the subject matter isn't more adult. You know what I mean? They're just kind of getting more, exploit.
Yeah, just saying the superficial aspect of both of those books, Dark Knight and Watchmen, which were much, much deeper. Those were very, very well made comics. So both of those series were exceptional, but that's what they had in common, that they dabbled, they dipped their toe into that 70s R movie type vibe, and that hadn't been done in comics before. So everybody jumped on board, and we got. I don't want to blame, like everything on that, but that's what gave rise to like the Punisher being a popular character, and because they could cut him loose at that point, and Batman being darker, and it's just generally speaking, but it didn't have what everybody else in the industry was doing and chasing. Didn't have the thoughtfulness and depth that Dark Knight or Watchmen had.
Well, that's what Darren Wagner made a good point. He said you can have adult comics without the language, or you just have to be sophisticated. That's what they lacked. They lacked any kind of sophistication.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. Like, I respect his work, but the way he talks, this is just like upper middle class commie dribble, which I hate. I mean, you want to live like that? Go to Venezuela and starve. but doing it from the comfort of England, dude, it's bullshit. Like,
He's
And
always
it's
been-
always every time he comes out with one of these things, it always seems self-promotional and always puts even when he admits that, maybe it's my fault that these comics got adult, but he's also like criticizing himself but then patting himself on the back at the same time. And it's always self-serving. Like he's trying to make it seem like it's something else, but it's always it's just a different version of promoting himself.
Yeah, dude. It's,
I
that coin is overplayed already. Like, you don't sound cool when you start talking to that, because everybody knows, like, oh, another crummy asshole. Thank you.
Alan Moore has a long-term bone to pick with comics in general because
he signed the contract.
Yeah, but let me get into that though, because I was at DC at the time of all the
I've
Watchmen.
heard this one.
Yeah, and like I was, I knew Richard Brunning well which is where the Watchmen office, that's where all that stuff came through, and Alan's deal initially was that he was going to, DC had just gotten the rights to all the Charlton characters, right? And so he was going to do that. He was going to do all the Charlton, heroes in a brand new way and for everything. And Brunning said, because he had gone so far with his, adult, vibe take on it, Brunning told him, he said, look, this is not really those characters where, we're getting away from what we would like to do with them, and ultimately did nothing with them. But he said, why don't you just make it yours and do your own thing? But Alan, and which is what he did, he just came up with the owl, and he had his own versions and takes on everything. However, his contract,
yeah, the owl was the Blue Beetle, and,
right? But
Both
however, his
ideas.
contract with DC was that they were going to do the 12-issue miniseries, and obviously a trade paperback, and then the rights to the Watchmen were going to revert back to him. So his initial deal was that he was going to, DC was going to publish it, and then when it was out of print for a couple of years or something, the rights would revert back to him, and he would own those characters.
and DC
And so-
didn't do that.
and what-
No.
As
As
they were not in print. So what DC did is every year, like clockwork, would put out some shit version of those books and everything. And so 30 years down the road, he doesn't own anything. So he's got a bone to pick with that, and that I think very much soured him on mainstream comics in general. And that's where you see him like fucking take that left off the road and go off the reservation. And ever since, because he's always been kooky and a little bit out there. But at that point is where he just started his fucking, his off-roading.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like for me, when he says they're fascist, he's also kind of insulting the fan base, the reader.
No, 100%.
100%.
That's
No
the
regard.
thing that I don't understand, because you could go, oh well, it's got fascist tendencies and stuff, but he's bringing it into like real world equations and stuff. So he's basically saying like, oh, if you read superhero comics or watch these Marvel movies or whatever, then you're going to have a tendency to become a fascist. And I mean, that's insulting on so many levels, because I think most people can tell fantasy from reality. And I think if what they think is fascist is just plain and simple, like you love your country, you love God, like there's certain things like more traditional family, God country, those things. And what these guys do is like, if you have a flag in your yard in California, you're a jingoistic, you're
exactly.
like, you're whatever. And it's like, it's just so weird to go, I love America, and then have some asshole say, what are you? You're nationalists.
Have you seen like the pictures of this guy throughout the years? He like favors himself a wizard. He's got his like
into magic,
rings and his robes, and like he's got this whole like persona that he's built up, and it's all it is advertising and whatever loose screws are up in his brain. and then he calls, "Oh, you love your country? Oh, well, you're probably a fascist then." And it's that's worth nothing.
Go ahead,
Something that
Todd.
was said.
Let's
Something
talk.
that was said a half hour ago when I wanted to say this is you talked about adult comics and sophisticated comics. They were always there, right? Even somebody like Howard Chaykin and stuff like that. You had to look. You had to know what they were. Zenzoic Tales, Kitchen Sink Comics. There was another company, but they were there. So giving them, they brought a lot of adultism, kind of like sophisticated stories to the mainstream, but they weren't the first to really explore these themes.
Yeah.
I got to give Howard Chaykin, I think some of that stuff comes off the back of Howard Chaykin, to be quite honest, because some of his books were just right there. You know what I mean?
American Flag absolutely was not a mainstream superhero, but definitely, adult oriented in a lot of its themes. And I think Howard, we got to take a step back from that though, because in those days, we're talking, it's like, 1981 or something. So I think Howard was probably the first American comic book artist that kind of embraced that type of thing and ran with it. However, for a few years before, we were getting exposed to European comics through heavy metal. And that is really where European comics, and then later, in the late 80s, Americans discovered that Japanese comics also had adult themes and stuff like that. But initially, it came from things like heavy metal and those European artists and stuff like that, where comics were done seriously for grown-ups in adventure tales and had sexual things or violent things, And I think Howard was one of the first to pick up on that and go, we can do more and do that type of, because I think American Flag to this day is an exceptional series. The issues that Howard drew himself. But also then after that, I think that then, there's a move towards that, because we have Frank Miller, who then does Ronin, which is a big departure from superhero comics. In its way, that was a much more grown-up comic book, even though it might have been a little hit and miss on the execution. The actual series itself as a whole was a very European take on comic books.
Well, it was European plus Japanese. I mean, it had Lone Wolf and Cub influence, and then it had Mobius influences as well. So it really was like the melding of those two genres, or those two type of styles.
And I'll be honest with you, when Frank dropped Ronin, I was of a mind that, oh shit, we are now going to see a revolution in comics. I thought every major creator was now going to fucking jump ship from doing standard superhero books, and we were, I thought everybody was going to now turn out this kind of material. I thought that this was going to be the new, way forward, and that we were going to, we would see more things like, American Flag and Ronin and stuff like that, and see a much, just a bigger growth in, all that stuff. But it didn't happen. Everybody went back to their Marvel paychecks.
And who needs Alan Moore when we have Commie Mark in the chat?
Yeah, Commie Mark's in the house. Hey,
yes,
what's up, brother?
You dirty red.
Well, the thing is, I think I always thought this, like even with Frank Miller, I think these guys, and I want to say almost 100% with Howard Chaykin too. There was a period of time where I was pretty close with him. My roommate John Moore was his writing partner.
Yeah,
and they worked with each other for years. And I don't think those guys have any interest in superhero comics. I know that Howard does not. And I think if they did, so I'm talking about Frank Miller, I'm talking about Alan Moore, I'm talking about Howard Chaykin. I think if they didn't start off, they inevitably got to the point where they have serious contempt for superhero comics. You look at everything like what was it, All-Star Batman? That was really a cynical, horrible take on that character. And it almost looked like Frank Miller had just contempt for the entire DC universe. Because it wasn't just the Batman character that was in bad light. It was all of the DC universe that was in bad light.
Jim really just wanted to work with Frank so badly.
Yeah.
He had to be reading that script and drawing it and being like,
Dude, have you ever
I
seen like
got to work with Frank. That's
Yeah,
all
give
he
me.
was
He,
saying to
yeah,
himself.
Jim's like, give me something.
have
Yeah.
you ever seen
Yeah.
some of the stuff that he put into the script for that? Some of it's just creepy as shit.
Not
It's like
surprising.
Frank
I've
went off the
seen
deep end during that time period, man.
Makes Robin eat a rat and like,
Dude, he's like he's doing these like I'm not like dude, I'm not a prude. I like seeing hot women in my comics, but some of the commentary that he put on there is like, make sure it's an ass shot. It'll drive the guys crazy, and I'm like, who the freaking hell thinks like that, man?
he
It was
does.
like, dude.
Another.
Well, somebody
Yeah.
else said like eventually you become a parody of yourself. So I think Frank Miller. I love the guy. I love his work. He's probably my favorite out of all the people we're talking about. And it's really
Titan.
hard for me to see, but I really do think he has contempt for the subject matter, superhero comics. And I do think that he's kind of a parody of himself now.
Oh, yeah.
I think in his time, you got to keep in mind though, Frank takes over Daredevil.
Yeah.
He's 23 years old, taking over writing and drawing.
Yeah.
He's a, I don't want to say a kid, but that's fucking young in your
That's young,
career.
yeah.
And
23
he
writing and
murdered it.
drawing.
Yeah, and he at the time, you could read his comic journal interviews, and there's a collection of them I have on my shelf actually. He really absorbed all of it, and squeezed as much out of it as he could. Contempt. I think that came later, much later. But in that time, I don't think that was his mindset at all. I think he really looked at it, tried to see it in a fresh way, and to bring his influences, the 70 crime dramas and stuff
Yeah,
like
he was
that.
writing it as a
Yeah.
crime novel,
Yeah,
and it was awesome. It fit
Dude,
perfect.
fucking his Daredevil run is murderous. It's fucking.
And
it's
that's
awesome.
the thing is, like, guys in their prime, when they're young and they're
Yeah.
hungry, they write their best stuff, and then
Yeah.
you get older, and maybe you've got a few little feathers in your cap that you can like still churn out
Everyone's
something
telling you you're
decent, and then
genius.
you
I
fade.
still love Ronin. I mean, like I said, that's not. I think.
But at a certain
artistically-
point, your older stuff was better.
Well, that's for all.
What,
of us,
what really good creator hasn't heard that?
I don't know, man. I think they start drinking the Kool-Aid, man, and I think a lot of people, they're told that they're a genius for so long that they think every friggin' nugget that comes in their head is just
But
gold.
Bob, also that long of a career drawing that many comics, sometimes you just get worn out, and
Yeah, but also
you run out of
don't have the
shit.
you just don't have the good stuff anymore.
But that's
they're
like
older.
those guys have enough fuck you money. They don't need to do this.
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
I don't understand why you come back. Like when I first saw the writing on the wall with Frank Miller was that Batman Spawn, and I swear when I read that, I was like, Frank didn't write this. Somebody that thought they understood the voice of Frank Miller wrote this, because that was a parody. I mean, you read that book, and man, you can't take any of that stuff seriously. It's like, like he's like, I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him bad, the baddest. Like he just kind of repeats every line like for dramatic, but it just becomes like it's just like a parody. It's like, well, this is how Frank would write it. You know what I mean? Like if you were trying to do his style.
What was the Batman Returns? Where
I'm
the
the
Flash
goddamn
came in there?
Batman.
Batman 2, or yeah, it was just so.
I have never in my life read that. I just could not, and I was
It's so
literally,
bad.
Dark Knight 2, yeah.
yeah,
Dark Knight 2
and I
is
was
so
willing,
bad.
I was willing to go get past the art, because Frank dramatically alters his style artistically, as we
God.
all know, because things he did in Daredevil, which are brilliant, especially with Klaus, man, fucking did
Oh
kill
yeah,
it.
God.
God, that was
And
it was awesome.
but even in Ronin, like he gets very, very experimental and gets into that European type shit. But like when he, honestly, I thought when he hit second issue of Ronin, I thought he was really, really onto something right there. But he just does it artistically. I think the art in that issue, like that style, he could have carried on for 10 more years. But he fucking literally abandons it practically in the next issue and goes on. But
Well, it was also kind of a borrowed style. Like he was taken from Mobius, and then
he was learning
from Lone Wolf and Cub. Hey, John, if you're still in the chat, I sent you a link. So if you want to come by, hang out, add your 2 cents, feel free. Keep going. Yeah. Anyways, I just want to throw my like Ronin. When I read that as a kid when it was coming out, I was like, oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah,
that big gatefold. Like he was also like changing the format, because wasn't there that explosion that folds out and then you're like
five
pages.
page fold out.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh well, Jim Lee, okay. Like everything Jim Lee does is almost all kind of, it was the foundation was Frank Miller, was Klaus.
Jim was going to work with Frank no matter what that script was.
I feel here, and this is the wrong way to say this, but I was going to say, like, I feel bad for Jim Lee in the sense that he was the John Byrne of the 90s, right? He was that great superhero artist that everybody wanted to be. He had that style, that look. He was productive. He had, everything. He was the Quan of the comic book artists. But I feel, and Chuck makes a point, Chuck Dixon, that like Jim, never really evolved past that. He found his niche and then just stuck with that. Yeah, and I guess that's a fair. It's a semi-fair comment.
He also never worked with any good writers.
That's exactly what I'm getting to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
As fucking fantastic as Jim Lee was, he was fucking, he was a spectacular superhero artist, and technically still is. But I feel he never got to do his run with the great writer, because Jim doesn't really write, I feel he never partnered with that great writer to do that fucking killer run that would cement him for all eternity as like fucking one of the best.
I think the most coherent thing, like script he had, was like Batman Hush.
Yeah,
like
Hush was the closest thing he's going to get to
probably.
It read like a story. It was intriguing. He got to play with all the Rogues Gallery,
and it was commercial as hell.
Yeah, and it was
Whatever your complaint about Jeff Loeb is, Jeff Loeb will give the artist cool shit to draw.
Yeah,
and he knows what his audience wants as well. Yeah. So he's not contemptuous in that sense. But I want to get back a little bit on the fascism and stuff like that. So I think you have Alan Moore saying that superhero comics are fascist, possibly the fan base are fascist. So how do you guys feel about that? I'm gonna go.
I'm against fascism, Art.
I know, but do you think?
I don't know about the rest of you guys.
Is there any truth to it? I mean, do you think, like, is he mistaking maybe I don't know, altruism, patriotism?
This is a PR stunt through and through. It's. I mean, Alan Moore hasn't been relevant in a long time. He probably does have some new project coming out. He needs some media attention. This is a PR stunt through and through. It's like comics have nothing to do with fascism. Comics are an escapism, and it's like Flash Gordon movies or Marvel movies. It has nothing to do with fascism. It's just something that will grab the type of views that he wants to get. So that's how
I want to try to figure out, like, how is he even tying this to fascism? Like, is it vigilantism that gets mistaken as fascist? What about like a superhero is fascist?
Todd?
No, it goes over my head. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I think it's go ahead, Pedro.
Okay. So basically, if you define fascism as what it is, it's basically the government in league with corporations. That's what fascism is. That's what Mussolini invented, and that's the root of what fascism is.
Thank God we didn't see any of that today.
He also, Darius.
No, but wait, I'm not done.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So that word has become so loaded that everything people don't like will become fascism.
Mm.
It will come to a point where if you like strawberry ice cream, you're a fascist. And Alan Moore is nuts. So making the parallel, so maybe loving your country, he's equating to fascism. having good morals. That's fascist because you're putting yourself above others. I mean, I'm trying to get myself into his brain.
Well,
But
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but the thing is, like, dude, it's nonsensical. Like trying to analyze what
Right.
this
Yeah.
drug
You might
out
not-
brain.
You might
Well,
not
let
have
me
been able
read.
to go
Let me
in there.
read
Fish
this.
sauce.
Okay.
Yeah, do it,
So,
do it,
so
do
the
it.
definition, fascism, a way to organize a society in which a government ruled by a dictator controls the lives of people, and in which are not allowed to disagree with the government. The rise of fascism in Europe, World War II.
Before World War
Okay,
That's inaccurate.
so how does that relate to?
Well,
How does that relate to Superman? How does that relate?
that's
I mean, the
what
only
I
thing
was.
you think of is
That's
vigilante.
hang on. Let me say this one thing real quick. Darian Wagner actually brought this up in the chat, and he's right. More cites the prototypical superhero as the Aryan idea, like Superman. Superman was originally meant to be the bad guy. He was the Uberman. The Uberman.
The Uberman.
That's what. That's.
The
and
Uberman is Nietzsche, not,
I understand,
not
but
Hitler.
what he's doing is he's like he says in here, he's basing his fascist opinion on the superficial.
Yeah.
So, and he has said that in the past. He said that that's that the idea of the superhero is the Uberman.
Well, the only thing I can see that would tie it in at all, and this is really loose, is just vigilantism. It's like taking the law into your own hands and acting in a way that you will enforce and force people into what you think is right and wrong. That's as close to fascism. And like I said, I mean, I'm like Pedro said, like I'm just trying to figure out what the hell is he even talking about? You know, if this guy's as smart as we're saying he is, or that he was in the past, what does this even mean when he says this?
But dude, Santiago Penegos is making a great point. Dude, he grew up under Franco. That was a fascist regime with the church in the middle of it. So that's something that, dude, do you want to see expressions of fascism? Like, dude, go to Chile. There's an organization called Opus Dei.
Opus Dei.
I don't know if you heard of those guys. Like, dude, that thing is like, okay, we need to put our people in governments, and that was made in Spain actually. Like, I will call that more fascist because it's like, dude, our ideas will come to the government, and everybody who's Opus Dei has to be successful and in business. That's freaking scary. But calling a guy in his basement doing a superhero comic, maybe, there's a little bit of Nietzsche with the Ubermensch and dude, but this is more aspirational. You're not gonna make a comic about the guy who sells, like, I don't know, popsicles. That's gonna be boring.
Yeah, but the Ubermensch isn't even like fascist, or he's just a superpowered guy, right? I mean, there's no politics involved.
It's an ideal image. That's what it is.
Of a hero, of a superpowered person.
It's a super weird take on it because a prototypical hero is Superman, as we all know, and he's the very first, character that everything else is drawn from. But Superman is invented in 1933 by two Jews, and I don't know that they were thinking fascist thing. I think it's quite the opposite. That they were thinking, oh, it's a guy who will stand up for us, and I think the Christopher Reeves take on Superman in that film is closer to what the original creators thought he was, rather than some kind of supreme Mark Waid take.
That Mark Waid, like, Kingdom Come is freaking scary.
But then to your point, Chris, it's like there's the truth, justice, American way. So I guess in a twisted way, that you have your nationalism, you have your truth, but whose truth? Like these type of things. So I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just playing devil's advocate, trying to figure out what the hell is this guy even?
That's a stretch.
But let me get this this $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Matt. Jim Lee worked with Chris Claremont, a goat.
Yes, but he did not work with Claremont during any of Claremont's major storylines.
Yeah, we did.
What did they do together? I'm trying to
together.
Oh, they worked on X-Men.
Oh, that's right.
Well, that's what I was saying is after Claremont
Jim Lee never worked with a writer that
on
kind
that
of
level again.
that came up to his level. Like X-Men 273, 274, 275, 276, 277 are kind of my holy grail of comics.
Yeah, but
Those are
that's
like some of my favorite comics ever. Like they had some of the greatest inkers that will ever grace a comic book page. Namely, one of them's over here. You inked some of that stuff, I think, Art.
But that's a very short stint, though, isn't it? Is Jim
Yeah,
Lee
but
and
I mean, it's a
X-Men
5-issue run or so.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
so
like
it's not, if
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of a run, like
Yeah,
Bernie
but there weren't very much long runs after that either.
well,
Yeah.
I'm also looking
the
at like, in terms
90s
of
kind
like
of ended the long run.
I'm also looking at like in terms of like those major storylines, you know, like the Dark Phoenix, you know, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Jim didn't work. Jim worked with Chris
Rogue
Claremont, but
Savage Land is still a thing, man.
But
No,
he's
you're
still-
right. I mean, Jim got like all these great writers at the tail end of their careers. Like he didn't work with them in their prime. But let me get this JDC.
Yeah, go ahead.
$4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, JD. Define fascism. First, since the word is thrown around incorrectly so
Exactly.
much lately. Yeah, and
Exactly.
that's what I tried to do when I went to the definition of it. It's like it's usually a government. It's not like I mean, you can have an individual that represents a government, like Hitler or somebody like that,
Yeah.
or Mussolini.
Or
But
Franco. Franco
Yeah,
like gets
Franco.
gets
but they still but
Franco
they
get the pass because there were so many
Yeah.
others that were bigger than he was.
Are we talking
Right, but
James
they're- but
Franco?
they're
I
always-
didn't know he
No.
was that
Hey,
bad.
hey, stop!
I
Go ahead,
mean,
Art.
some of
They're
his
always-
movies sucked, and I mean, you really shouldn't sleep with
No.
Johnny Depp's wife.
we're talking about Franco, the dictator of Spain. In
Not that-
1930s.
Oh, my
that
bad.
dude.
My
That
bad.
dude. That dude.
but then you know you have you know this
I'm a
fascism,
dick.
but it's not like it's a government movement. It's not like an individual. And also all these people that you were bringing up were obviously villains. You know what I mean? It's like you can't relate Superman to Hitler. You can't relate Superman to Mussolini. You can't do this. I mean, maybe Alan Moore could do it, but I can't.
That's
You know?
the thing. It goes back to that whole thing with like I think you know, he's looking at surface traits. You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That kind of thing.
Well, maybe Sinestro.
And I don't even think he's being that sincere about it.
I don't either.
I think it is a gimmick that he knows will get him the right type of attention with the right type of people that he's trying to sell his stuff to. It's he's a sellout at this point.
Oh my god!
Like
No, I agree with you, but I always just like to try to think about this in just as a fun experiment. Just try to figure out like what does he?
Well, how old is he though? I mean, how old is Alan Moore right now? I mean, it could just
pushing
kooky.
70, it's got to be.
Yeah.
He's
Alright, so-
well over 70.
All right,
yeah,
so
dude,
Art
he's
was a
like-
little kid when he was in his prime.
He's pushing
Yeah.
80, dude.
Oh, so maybe he's just like off the deep end, and
No, I really do think that Clint's right. I think he's doing this for attention to go on his book tour and stuff like that because he does it all the time. Like it seems like that's his MO.
What the frick?
Goes out in public.
And he,
No,
and
what the
he's-
hell, dude? He's only 68.
Whoa!
He looks like
really?
he's 1,000 years old.
Oh,
He
wow,
does.
yeah.
He looks older than Papa Smurf.
Dude, yeah, he needs a
He looks
oil
like
change.
he looks like he ate Papa Smurf, smoked his ashes or something. Dude, the dude is freaking.
And the thing is he's
Years
smart
have not been
enough
kind.
He's smart enough to know what buttons to push to still get that attention. He's made headlines all over the place with this. It's gonna help him win whatever goal he's trying to achieve. Like his reason for doing it was successful. Like whether he's being sincere or not, it doesn't really matter. He achieved his goal.
Well, where I'm going to go is does it really matter? I mean, we're talking right now, we're painting him in a really bad light. So, I mean, yeah, he can grab the headlines, but, unless you're just a hardcore, fascist loving Alan Moore loving, guy, are you really buying this? Are you really getting involved with it? Because also he's insulting his fan base. Because he's saying, because he was part of this whole thing too. He was writing superhero comics. He was contributing. So is he going to apologize for all his fascist comics that he's written in the past? You know what I mean? Like this is just like This
He
is
kind of does apologize for it. He like apologizes. He's like, "Oh, I kind of created this."
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So like he kind of does apologize, and like it's a virtue signal. Like he's
Yeah.
going. He's an SJW. He was probably like the first one way before. Like he's trying to signal to people, "Oh, come read whatever I've written next because I'm turning my back on this fascist superhero genre." And then
Well-
throwing the Marvel and DC movies under, the bus too. That just gets some more attention.
Well, Commie Mark actually brought up a point. Maybe I still think that this is kind of a paper thin excuse, but he brought up a point. He says, I think his point is that superheroes are training the population to expect a big magic daddy to swoop down and save them. It's like if we let the government take that role. So it's like maybe that, but honestly, I don't think. I just feel
So
like
they're a stand in the super.
That can swing
for the
both
government.
ways. That can swing both ways.
Right.
That can be fascism or communism. Any of the two will fit
There
that.
are
bill, so.
fascist characters, like I think Magneto. I think like somebody brought up
Sinestro.
Sinestro, yeah. Sinestro.
These are characters
Dr.
that,
Doom.
that definitely have an ideology.
Not very.
And they're trying to impress upon people with those beliefs. And so I think that's more of
And you know what? You know which
talking
government, which comic book government, and actually I can say this, Wakanda. I don't trust Wakanda.
Well, especially the Wakanda that was in the damn Marvel movie. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Think about this. Okay, in that movie, they consciously shunned Africa, starving Africa.
Exactly.
They were actually on the continent, and they didn't help their own fucking people.
Didn't help anybody
in decades and decades. And they had advanced technology.
Yeah.
Just think about this. I
But
mean,
fuck
instead
Ethiopia.
of America,
Yeah.
instead of all these other countries that rose to prominence, Africa would have done that decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
Well, 100 years or more, 200 years before anybody else had. And really, they're the heroes? Fuck that. They're the villains, man. They let their whole continent starve. And I'll tell you, if you're going to bring that up as a writer, you have to follow that up with them doing humanitarian stuff constantly and giving to Africa. But the problem with that is they can't cure it. That's always the problem with superhero stories, is you can't have superheroes fight wars, because it diminishes from that. I remember when we did all the 9/11 comics and stuff like that, one of the things was you can't make the superheroes more impactful than like the firefighters or the police and stuff like that. So in a war, you can't make the superheroes cooler than the soldiers. You can't do that. And so that becomes
it's problematic.
World War II, where superheroes initially had their heyday, it's when they were being used as propaganda machines for like fighting Nazis and all that shit. And that's when Captain America and all especially Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, they all got enlisted to fucking fight the propaganda war, and they did relentlessly.
Oh, dude, you want to see some freaking propaganda? Watch the Popeye shorts or the Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
But that and all the old Superman cartoons and all that shit.
Yeah,
but after the war, that's when superheroes died. That's because they had no purpose anymore. It was so closely tied to war propaganda that when the war was over, nobody needed them, and the superhero fucking genre was dead and buried until we get the Flash in the later 50s. When they, recast him in the sci-fi bent.
Well, was it Julie Schwartz or
Julie Schwartz and Carmen Infantino? Yeah, and then they follow suit right after, hot on the tails of that success. They do Green Lantern. Gil Kane. They give him a redesign and everything. And now we're off and running. The superhero comics are back on. We do the Justice League and everything.
And if that never happened, there'd be no Marvel
Absolutely
Universe.
not, no.
So like from 42, 43 to the early
right after
50s.
the war, after the war, superhero comics died. Everyone was fucking canceled off the racks.
Was this the romance era and the monster, like
Yes.
like Jack Kirby was drawing all the monster stuff?
And the only three superhero comics that basically survived that were Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, but only based on the recognition that they had and everything. But their sales were in the shit. You know, they were in the fucking
Yeah, like I couldn't imagine like Captain America surviving.
Captain America. Everybody forgets Captain America was fucking forgotten until Stanley brought him back. He served his purpose for the war, and then was not heard from ever again. And
he doesn't even show up till like the fourth issue of the Avengers?
Yeah, Stanley brings him back for the Avengers. He's like, hey, Jack, you got that guy. Let's bring him back. And then that's the Captain America we know, is the reboot that Stan did with Jack, not the original one, because nobody that was long forgotten.
Yeah, the Simon, Joe Simon.
And he was 20 years dead, until they brought him back for the Avengers.
That's so crazy.
And that Marvel version is the Cap that we all know.
Let me bring up one more thing that Alan Moore did, and then we'll go to the next topic. He said something about like the age group, like the comic books were for kids. So do you think, I mean, even based on what we're talking about now, where, like these characters during the war had purpose, but they were also still directed at children. You know what I mean? Like Captain America, I think any superhero idea is always aimed at a kid. Like you have Captain America, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, all these characters, they're really only going to appeal to a younger audience. So then you have that, but then, so, he's talking about aging it up, doing all this other stuff. So do you think, based on what Alan Moore is bringing to the table, do you think that maybe by aging comics up, in a way, is he saying that he actually contributed to it, that it was a bad thing, that maybe comic books should still always be marketed and written for a younger audience?
Kids
I think
can't
he
afford
regrets
comics.
it.
Kid what kid has $5 per issue to spend? Comics were for kids in the 50s, and that was definitely the market in those days. But by the time we hit the 60s, and then Marvel does their launch in the mid 60s, where Marvel is now taking on DC sales wise and everything, we are seeing sales to not only young people but also college kids. Marvel comics were huge on college campuses, and so we're young adults at this point. However, content in those days was still good for younger readers. You were still bringing in younger readers, while the readership from the 50s is getting older, and we're having that kind of overlap where we're just getting all young people, and I think that it's not until the 80s where we have a problem with that we're no longer dealing in providing books for younger people, and especially once after the Bronze Age is dead, after Dark Knight and everything, at that point we're making comic books for older readers, and we've ignored the younger audiences at that point, and that becomes a problem.
Yeah. Do you think, how you talked about comic books tanking after the war? Do you think those kids grew up, and maybe that was like a problem too, because it didn't really attract a new audience? It was just that audience. And so once the war was over and those kids were, they were older, do you think that may have contributed?
With the war comics and the actual war days, I think the distinction there is that we had grown-up support for those comics for young people. It was okay for parents to buy Batman when Batman is clobbering the Nazis and all that type of shit.
Didn't they ship like the comics of Captain America kissing Hitler's ass over to the soldiers for just a little bit of escapism? I mean, there was no TVs, there was no phones. It was just a little bit of like downtime to read a comic.
Yeah, but the GIs got comics for sure.
Yeah,
they were shipping comics to the GIs for morale. It was kind of like, oh look, we're fucking and it worked.
My first stack of comics came. My dad worked at the Navy shipyard in Long Beach, and he would bring home stacks of used comics from the Navy guys. And oh my gosh, as a kid, you don't care if they're hand-me-downs, you read the shit out of them. And so
those might be worse than money art.
Oh my! I never took care of any of that stuff. I have that Avengers 4 or 5 or whatever it was when Captain America comes. You can't touch it; it'll just it'll disintegrate in your hands. I
Oh,
never took care of any of those things. But yeah, I do think that some of it is, I do think that Alan Moore might be onto something with just like the kid thing, that possibly aging some of these concepts up don't really work, and that maybe should have stayed, tailored to a younger audience. I mean, how do you guys feel about that? I mean, I'm not saying all comic books. I'm talking mainly like superhero books, because there's always been more adult stuff. I think Vertigo line was great. The Epic line was great. Heavy Metal was fantastic. Even the Savage Sword of Conan books, were great. The magazine stuff, there were some great, EC in the day. There was some great, more adult oriented stuff. But I'm mainly talking about superhero comics.
I think everybody relates to adventure books on some level.
It's a rough topic.
Yeah, it is. But when you think about like making books that will appeal, I think Marvel had their finger on that pulse in the mid '60s, late '70s, where they were making comics that appealed not only to the younger people but also to young adults. And older people, were not reading comics then, really. But that's because they had not been exposed to them, really. But when you talk about books like that, I think you could write books that are all age, kind of appropriate. Like, who doesn't love the fucking Lord of the Rings? Is that really a children's book? It's just fucking great. Right? It's so you.
I'm not talking about writing down like making like for kids, like just basically what they always were. Like when Marvel started in the early mid '60s.
The thing is 10, 12, 13-year-old kids are still buying books out there. It's just comics have neglected that market for such a long time that they don't even know how to attempt it anymore.
They don't know how to start getting into it.
They see other like YA books nailing that market and making huge amounts of sales.
Manga.
And the big two, Marvel and DC, are just lost. They have no idea how to do that anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree.
Hey, Art.
Yes.
We lost like 25 freaking viewers, man. We need to move on to the subject. We've been on this for an hour and 15 minutes.
All right. Well,
get something fun. Let's go.
Oh, you want something fun?
Let's take a real quick break. And Chris, get your sign-up page up for Powerhouse.
Oh yeah.
Drop the link. In the
I want to see the video again.
Hang on a second.
Yeah. So we'll do some cool stuff here.
Actually,
who wants to go next? I mean, we got Black Adam, we got the Warner Brothers layoff.
I got my tourism board video.
Oh, you want to do that after we should go off some campaigns?
Yeah, let's do that.
Champlains.
Champlains.
Who's got theirs up? Pedro's.
Oh, that's me.
I can share the Rock video.
Yeah.
Well, do you have your campaign, Clint?
Yeah, let's wait for Chris and Clint.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna do my Champlain first, then, because I have it open. So, you guys, this is Black and White Volume 2, Man versus Machine. In a world where law and order is often blurred to gray, justice can only be black and white. We are at 117,378. You got to take a pause there because that's a crazy number there. 1,395 backers. Thank you guys so very much. I work on this every day. If you guys are really good and behave yourself, I'll show off a page later in this show. But here's the main cover here. It is a 68-page square-bound graphic novel. We have some cool variants. We got Kenneth Rocafort, black and white variant. We got Joe Bennett, black and white variant. And then we have Pedro Ang, Comicsgate's own Pedro Ang's high-octane animated adventure, 22-page one and done, written by the great Von Clout of Monster MD fame. And this book will knock your socks off, man. Pedro kicked ass on it. And also, if you guys missed out on the first campaign that we completely sold out of, here is a second chance to pick up the volume, the first volume. So issue 1, issue 2 will pretty much wrap up the Origins saga. So those 2 books will give you a complete storyline. We still have some of the Grey Capullo variants, and we have the only artwork available right now are the layouts. So these are some of the layouts, little thumbnails. And then you guys click the link that's in the description and come by and look at all these killer stretch goals. We got $100,000 worth of stretch goals here for you guys that have been unlocked already. All kinds of neat freebies, prints, not posters, but stickers. We got patches. We got all kinds of cool stuff, and t-shirts, and we just added these Keshi figures, so you guys can come by and get some of the Keshi figures. So what do you got?
15 left. We lost Wallace, man.
Oh no, Waz is gone. They got him.
Oh
Let's go,
no.
Wallace.
Backstage. There we go.
There he is.
Yeah.
Well, let's go with Clint, and then we'll give Chris a little bit more time to grab his
Right.
stuff.
I threw in the comments.
You got Slave Girl from Planet X here. My sci-fi ode to like the classic 50s and 60s kind of sci-fi, but with a lot of classy action to it too. The Slave Girl from Planet X, she's a hot babe just trying to survive the universe and keep her top on. Spoiler warning.
Well, screw that.
Yeah, spoiler
failed.
warning, she doesn't.
That's a
Fails.
terrible plot.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: she loses the top.
Yeah,
She fails.
she gets
That's the tough,
she
yeah.
gets sucked into intergalactic adventure and
Mm.
thrown into a harem of alien babes against her will. But she does her best to try and fight off all adversaries. Another spoiler warning: this is an adult comic. We do have an adult variant, very classily done. Again, I like to keep everything like really highbrow, so you can tell.
This is a concept that Alan Moore, if only
he wishes he could write stuff like this. Like this makes Watchmen look like a joke, man.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Like a killing joke.
And we take our fun at all the classic sci-fi tropes, and I always like to throw a lot of Easter eggs in and stuff I'm a fan of. Classic Star Trek and Star Wars. I do little nods to those, but it's a story and action adventure story in and of itself, following the slave girl's adventures and misadventures. But the sharp eye will catch some fun nods to other sci-fi genre stuff, but some interior pages here as our poor slave girl gets discovered floating in space. Art always loves that these highly advanced aliens have to crank open the escape pod with the crowbars.
They have crowbars.
If the tool's good,
crowbars.
It's like
Those
you
are
gotta get in
space
there
crowbars.
somehow, or like a crowbar works. So
yeah.
the book
Sometimes the
does
best,
contain
sometimes the best
nudity.
tool is a blunt instrument.
Yes. So fair warning there, and alien space girls and the harem and monsters and
Tentacles.
narrow escapes and
Probing
tentacles and laser guns and all the good stuff you'd want out of a sci-fi action adventure. Very fun book. And this also ties in with me and Mandy's Pirate Queen. So you can like continue the adventure through this book if you read Pirate Queen already. So just a lot of fun stuff. I'm a huge fan of this kind of genre. There's not a lot of this type of book out there anymore, so I want to make sure that this stuff keeps going on. And if you're a fan of it, definitely check it out. Give the book a look. I think I've got about 7 pages left to draw. I should be finished with this book by the end of October, drawing it. This book is going to ship at the end of the year. I'm right on schedule, probably going to print sometime in November, getting it ready to ship out in December and shipping in probably like end of December, January, something like that. So this is not a long wait on this book. This book is nearly finished. If you haven't had a chance to check it out now. and Mac, Slave Girl from Planet X.
Yeah, it looks
Awesome.
great. It's fantastic. That link is in the description as well. Bob's putting it into the chat, but it's also in the description. So I have my Penelope Powerhouse tab here now. So let's give Chris his moment.
Spotlight.
There we go. So, all right. So I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are we gonna watch the video? Again. I think for the most part, like
Did you guys hear it?
No. Damn it, Art! You did it again.
You can't hear it.
No,
No,
it's not playing.
it's not even playing.
Well, keep going. I'll see if I get the
Yeah.
sound to work. Or maybe Bob. Bob, can you grab it? We'll just play the
Yep,
video
I got
through
it.
yours.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know
You do
what
it, Bob.
happened to my sound.
You do it, Bobby.
When I do it, when I just do it on my own, I can do it. I can get the sound to work. But when I'm live, when I'm hosting, I can't do it. I can't do it.
It's
I noticed
okay, Art.
sometimes if you download them ahead of time or something, they'll play smoother than just trying to play them live. I don't know why it works out that way, but
Yeah, if you let them.
Before Bob gets the thing, I have an announcement to make. Tropical Magic is on its way to backers, so we're starting fulfillment today. RJ is already taking care of that. So I'm gonna make a very special announcement really soon. My new project called Waifus and Kaijus. We start the mailing list in November. So
all right.
So
Very
soon.
good.
Yeah.
Very soon, very soon.
Soon.
Did you call it waifus and kaijus?
Yes.
All right, you ready?
Yes. Crank that volume.
Hi, my name is Morgan Despair, and people say I'm the gloomiest, most miserably dire high school student in all of Sunnyside, Nebraska. And okay, maybe they have a point there. And this is Penny Pretty, better known as Penelope Powerhouse. And as you know, she's America's solar-powered teen superhero sweetheart. Penny represents all things wonderful and good and righteous and true. She has billions of fans all over the world who love her to death, and of course they do. Penny has perfect smile, perfect hair, perfect tits, and the perkiest ass anyone has ever seen. And she's even environmentally friendly. That's right, she farts pure hydrogen. One of us is the nicest, most kind-hearted person in the world. The other is a fucking bitch monster of galactic proportions. So naturally, we hate each other. How fucking lucky am I that we're the same person? Because while I was on vacation with my parents, I got this awful sunburn, and I vowed never to go into the sun again. But this infuriated an ancient mythical sun god who cursed me to suffer from a sunny disposition for the rest of my life. So by night, I'm my normal, wonderful self, but with every waking sun, solar-powered Penny takes over my body. And now, no one can see me or hear me while Penny spends every day ruining my life. You see, Penny Pretty, the super wonderful queen of virtue, does everything in her near unlimited superpowers to irritate the living shit out of me. For my 16th birthday, she ruptured my boyfriend's ball sack while letting my filthy gym teacher bang me. And things get way worse from there. Can two teen girls share a body without driving each other crazy? No, they fucking cannot. Find out in the sun-soaked adventures of Penelope Powerhouse, a brand new, all-original graphic novel from full-blown psychosis. Somebody fucking kill her!
Very cool.
That is so good, man. That is so
Dude.
good.
That's
So
the
the
first-
sign up, the pre-launch sign up is in the description. So click on that. All you have to do is give your email address and agree to the terms, and you can sign up for Penelope Powerhouse. And do they usually you get something like a trading card or something? Do you get anything?
Yeah, we're doing a trading card. A trading card. John Royal drew the trading card.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
I'm a big John Royal fan. So
He's
that's
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
No, that guy's.
Yeah.
It's
Me
a
and
great
him like the same type of stuff.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, I had that. Maybe I mentioned it, a character called Day and Night, and so there was like this split personality, and so there was like it's kind of like Penelope Powerhouse and the goth chick, but the costume was horrible.
I'm happy with my costume.
I think it's a great concept. I like that the goth girl gets cursed with sunlight. You know,
Yeah, for no fucking reason. Because she's like, oh, I'm not going in the sun anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And there's some dark humor in there too.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it gets way worse than that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Like I don't know if you guys read any of the little article blurbs on the magazine that shows her farting the hydrogen. Some of it's twisted. It's like the guys that'll eat the peanuts out of her shit, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's very Adult Swim, adult humor. I think
like God,
kind of closer to Rick and Morty in tone.
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing. But we did it, you know, because there is a pilot script attached to it. There's a producer that has some interest. He's got like 3 animated shows on Netflix.
Awesome.
But we did do a reading of, because I did write a pilot for it, and we did a reading with the actors and everything, and we got laughs throughout the whole script.
Nice.
And we had 2 teenage girl actresses that actually got teary-eyed at the end for a cartoon script. So we really did the whole fucking gamut, you know. So I think it's gonna work out great, you know.
Well, hopefully there's still an animation studio that's around, because Warner Brothers, how about that for a segue, has displayed, what is it, 26% or something like that, their employees, and Cartoon Network has been nixed. Is that right?
I got some news for Warner Brothers coming later in the week.
Has been absorbed more than next.
So was that your thought? Warner Brothers yours?
Warner Brothers. That was kind of me and Pedro both, I think.
Okay.
The whole the Cartoon Network getting folded in and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I got an article pulled up if we want to read it.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Let me.
It's sad because I remember when I was pitching Chrono and different things 20 years ago, there was Cartoon Network, and then there was
Boomerang.
Nickelodeon.
Well, there was, but Warner Brothers had, it was just like Warner Animation. They just
That's what just happened, is that Cartoon Network has essentially been dissolved. They fired 100 people.
Right.
And what's left has been absorbed.
Oh,
back
I remember what it was. Yeah, it was Kids WB.
Kids WB.
So when I was there, I mean, they had a building and everything. And I remember going in there, pitching, talking to everybody, and next day it was gone. Like they just cut it loose, and then they put all of that, and whoever made the cut, they went into Cartoon Network. So it sounds like they're doing it's Cartoon Network that's getting absorbed. But does anybody know who they're getting absorbed by?
Well, I can read the article if you want.
Okay, yeah.
Do it.
Okay. Cartoon Network amounts merger with Warner Brothers Animation. It seems the shift to Warner Brothers Discovery stuff. Talks about HBO Max and other things. The news shared in the meme shared in a meme. The latest news comes shortly after trades announced another round of major layoffs. The company laid off 82 people and confirmed that 43 vacant positions would not be filled moving forward. Wow. So it was more than 100 people. It was more like 120.
Yeah.
125. These layoffs range from scripted to unscripted television as well as animation. And of course, the announcement was the latest of several lambasted moves by Warner Brothers. Blah, blah, shut up. Cry more. Yeah. Back in August, the internet revolted when it learned HBO Max was removing more than 30 animated series from its catalog, including Infinity Train and other shows. These shows were removed in tandem. Cancellations behind the scenes, including Scooby's Holiday Hunt, Batgirl. Now it seems the company has merged its animation studio, but current reports suggest the consolidation will not impact the types of content. I call bullshit on that.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's the problem in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah. And
the only thing is, like, non-scripted and animation are going to be under the same umbrella, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but it's two different beasts. Animation, the production of animation is completely different from doing reality shows. So
Excuse me.
who's going to really be calling the shots here? Like I call disaster. Whoa, are you all right, Chris?
You guys okay?
Are you guys? Are you all right?
I have a husky.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So
Okay.
but
Go ahead,
yeah.
Bob. Go ahead.
But in light of alleged fear mongering, Cartoon Network art director David De Pascal addressed fans' worries and assured them that the worst case scenario hasn't come to pass yet. These are decisions that affect real people, studios, and jobs. You are shared. I work there. You can stand by whatever you like, but you sensationalizing it and guiding people to exploit that CNS is basically dead is really shitty, especially for those of us who still have a job here. Do better. Yeah. I think I think he doth protest too much.
Mhm.
Yeah, the word coming out is basically this is Zaslav coming down again, being like,
Mhm.
this is crap, it doesn't sell. You know, we're getting rid of it, and since this entity is not functioning the way that it should, we're going to fold it into the larger entity. So, Cartoon Network.
It's not even larger. That's the thing, Bob. It's not even a larger entity. It's the entity it's closer to him to control. You know,
Yes.
but Cartoon Network is way bigger, actually.
Yeah, but they've been doing Cartoon Network shows, doing a lot of that. You know, the content is a lot of the hey kids, don't be a racist. You know,
Yeah.
it's not focused on entertainment. They're again getting it to, you know, pushing their social agenda or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's and again when you begin that whole walk, if that's the path you're choosing, you begin by isolating 50% of your audience, if not more.
More than 50.
Right.
I would think so, but you know, just to be.
Well, let me introduce. We got Camel Moon. Hey, Camel, what's up?
What's up, dude?
Hello. I can only stay for a minute. It's my anniversary with my wife.
Ooh.
Oh,
Get the hell out of here, Camel.
That's why it's all called up.
I didn't
Look at
want to
his
miss
hair.
another day, but yeah. So I just want to let you know I won't be.
Well,
here.
what do you know anything about this? This Cartoon Network dissolving, being absorbed. If I don't even know what it's being absorbed into. So do you know anything about this story? We can get your.
I haven't even heard of this. This must be new.
Yeah, this just dropped today.
Oh yeah, I didn't know.
I can't believe you don't have your priorities straight.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
yeah, sorry.
CG YouTube channel or anniversary with
your wife. I mean, come
Or a
on.
committed husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
so they're merging with Warner Animation.
here's-
but the thing is, I didn't even know Warner Brothers had an animation division anymore. Like I thought that Kids WB and Cartoon Network was their animation division.
It's not. It's like Waz said. It's not as big as Cartoon Network was. Cartoon Network was actually a bigger entity.
Yeah, they had a
than
whole
their
building and everything.
But they've pulled it all under the one umbrella. Is what they've done.
Yeah.
And
but
this is all
Remember
part
the
of.
non-umbrella, which is a no umbrella.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
guys, this has been 4 years in the making.
Oh yeah. I remember
the,
they were talking about
the original merger was Cartoon Network, Warner Bros. Animation, Rooster Teeth, and Crunchyroll, all into one. Then in the AT&T merger, like they realized like Rooster Teeth was worthless, and then they sold Crunchyroll to Sony or something.
they sold it to Funimation.
They sold it to Funimation. So this is a thing that was in the works for a long time, and then now everybody's surprised, like, oh, the downsizing, like, dude, this was coming, and it has to do with the color style of animation. Like most shows suck. The agenda, the programming, kids are not enjoying these shows. The people are not buying toys, and that's the blood of any animated show is the sale of toys. Not the show itself. It will not make money. People
One of the big
people.
One of the big
Well,
things.
when I was pitching Pedro to that point, they said the only way a show actually makes its money is in the second season, towards the end of the second season, when the licensing begins. The first season is complete and utter loss.
Yeah.
They never make their money back on the first season. So it is a big risk for them to greenlight these ideas. for sure.
Well, you know,
And
you
then-
remember
Go ahead.
Pedro. You remember the thing that actually kind of kicked off this big debate was
Yeah.
Thundercats Roar.
Yeah, exactly.
Thundercats Roar, which came out with that Cal Arts, and it was just complete and utter
Oh,
dog
God.
shit.
Horrible. It was not.
And
But
the
dude, like,
fans, everything, even the people who liked that kind of stuff, looked at it and said, "This is just crap."
it's crap. But then
And-
it goes before that, Bob. 'Cause
Oh, I know.
I remember the case when Jendy Tartakovsky came with this show called Symbiotic Titan. Cartoon Network was just adamant of selling Ben 10 toys, and just out of laziness, they said, "Oh, we're not gonna give Symbiotic Titan a new season because those toys won't sell." Dude, it was a transparent robot, a transparent combiner robot. Like kids would have loved that show, that toy, and they didn't do it because out of laziness. No, all kids want is Ben 10. So this laziness, it's like 10 years in the making. Now they're just picking up the fruit of their labor. I'm sorry, man. Like,
Yeah, but I'm talking about like this, the whole backlash of it, and the whole
Yeah.
it all nosediving started back about 4 years ago when they
Yeah.
tried to push that show, and then exactly what happened with that. The same thing that happens with everything else. They started blaming all the fans, saying that no, you're the
Exactly.
one that's problem. You're the problem. And then, but the thing is, with young kids, especially like with us, with adults, it's bad enough. We were like, oh, you're
Yeah,
sweet.
dude.
But with young kids, they're like, oh, if you're gonna say that to me, I'm leaving. I'm
Yeah.
gone. And
And dude,
so
like,
it's all
the-
been on a downward slope ever since.
Yeah, dude. Compare the Teen Titans show with Teen Titans Go.
Mhm.
Huge drop in quality, and the toys were not selling. And that's marking the demise of all this stuff. And I don't know, like maybe like using this style makes the shows cheaper to produce. Maybe that's why. But dude, it's just like you're putting out crap that kids don't want to buy the toy.
But
off.
what do they even have? I mean, what's their big shows that they have right now?
I couldn't tell you.
None.
Yeah, I have no
Most-
idea either.
The one that they talk about in this article is where's it at? Infinity Train. I looked up Infinity Train. It's it's unrecognizable crap. And it's stuff like you compare the stuff that the popularity and the level of it and the interest of it of today compared to what it was just like 5 or 6 years ago, or 10 years ago. It's nowhere near what it was. It's because they all the Steven Universe came out and that Cal Art style came out, and they immediately went, oh, we want more of this because it moves away from it moves away from the classic Western style of animation for young adults, and it's more into this this woke ideology. All the male characters are weak. All the female characters are amazing, and everybody loves each other, and it's just a bunch of crap.
Yeah, dude. Like for example, take for example, we were talking Thundercats. The 2011 remake of Thundercats was amazing, very expensive to produce.
Yes.
Then they moved to Thundercats Roar. Thundercats, it's a dead IP right now. So I don't know. Like, are you gonna do business or you're here to save money and produce crap?
Well, I think what was that Adventure Time? Like that was the weirdest looking shit.
It was.
But at least it was kind of like the first couple seasons I thought were pretty good until it really went woke, and then they were like one of the characters gets pregnant and
when that show was out, I still had my animation school. All the kids that love Adventure Time were weird. I'm sorry, but they were weird kids. Weird.
My kid is weird. So
okay, I want to share an image with you guys. All right, let me stop this. Here's a picture of that Infinity Train show. Tell me if you can't tell exactly everything about this show just from looking at this friggin' thing.
Well, let's see what Camel Moon has to say.
Okay, good, man.
Give it a review here.
All right, so we got the antagonist. Oh, she's got red hair. Oh my god.
Wow.
And she's white. She's not black.
Okay, you got two guys. I don't know if this is the guy's human or what the hell he is.
They're riding a deer. I don't like
two guys holding hands riding a deer. You got a dog with something on its head. You got the main character here.
That was swiped from Cowboy Bebop. That corgi.
Yeah. You got some other characters up here. Tell me you can't look at this and pick out exactly who like 90% of these characters are and what they do.
Who is this for? Like, what's the target audience?
Kids.
This is very random, man.
What kids though? Like what?
I don't-
Like
you tell me, man.
I don't know. I mean, this just looks like
You
a
got-
bunch of hot garbage.
You got all the guys in here are like thin friggin' goth waif looking dude. There's no jack guys in here. There's no manly men in here.
Mm-mm.
What is that thing that's that kind of brass color? What is that?
I
It's
don't.
supposed to be the train. I
I
don't know.
think it's like a train or something. Yeah, right
Yeah,
here.
it's a train in an infinity sign. Dude,
Yeah.
very convoluted composition. Like I don't like it.
Well, that's barely readable as a train.
Yeah.
We
That
got
is
some giant monster thing with
Yeah.
horns on his back or some shit.
It's
I
a,
don't
it's,
know.
a, it's a tuba gorilla.
The tuba.
Oh,
I don't
how
know
did we
what,
not
like-
get the
like-
tuba gorilla?
Like I blame Dr. Seuss for all this shit.
Yeah.
It's a tube.
He started. Look what he started, man.
It's a tube of gorillas. You can
Yeah,
get gorillas
tube
in a
of
tube
gorilla.
now.
It's a lube of gorilla.
But I'm looking at this and I'm
Gorilla.
looking at this and
Lubed up gorillas.
none
Yeah,
of these
exactly.
characters.
I might not be hearing things right.
I
Yeah, you're
think
not.
hearing
None
it
of these.
perfectly.
Here's the thing, though. I'm looking at this. There's nothing. There's nothing in this show that there's nothing in these characters. And granted, this is not made for me.
Wait, I gotta take this.
You don't like deer and puppies?
Wait.
Go ahead, Art.
We gotta get Camel Moon in more of these slices.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael, for the 499 super chat. I'll super chat any channel that hosts Camel. He is awesome, and there's a little camel icon right there. So
Thank you.
you got yourself some
Nice.
fans, man.
But
You're
I'm
welcome.
like just from a character standpoint, man. Look at these characters. There's nothing interesting about any of them.
Well, they also look like stuff I've seen before. Like they don't look.
That girl has glasses.
Yeah. It's also random.
Yeah,
Well,
what
it's
were
a
you
lot
saying?
of like aping whatever is current. So,
Mhm.
like, you know,
And doing
a
it
couple years
badly.
back, you saw like all these Family Guy spin-offs. There was so many of them. They were just like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whether they were
Sure.
directly
Don't
from,
you pick on American Dad?
well, no, like not just them, but they were like Cartoon Network was doing their own little, you know, quirky family. And then you have like Nickelodeon doing their own quirky family thing. MTV would do a lot of this shit. And a lot of them fell by the wayside. Now the big thing to ape is Rick and Morty. And when I see that, or, you know, Adventure Time, that's what you're getting. It's like, oh, it's a dimension thing. And we're friends with talking puppets. It's like, whatever, you know, eventually it'll just fall by the wayside. Something else will pick up. But the one you showed me will never pick up because the characters are not iconic enough to be memorable or, you know, to post on a lunchbox.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
And,
only thing marketable is the grape ape with the horns.
Yeah. It's very
Yeah.
generic.
Yeah, there's
Grape
nothing.
ape.
So it's,
The horny ape.
I don't know why they make them because like they have to know that there's no longevity in it. But, you know, I would be surprised if you got the two.
Camel,
showed my-
they make them because somebody's gonna shit her pants and cry in front of the studio because of inclusion. That's why they're making it. And dude,
Yeah.
this is not selling. It's not.
Well,
selling.
the thing is, I think Bob said this is their biggest show right
This
now.
is one of the shows that they mentioned about
So-
like, oh no, this show's gonna be going away, and this show. And I'm like, nobody knows who that show is.
So
Nobody
maybe
knows this
is
stuff.
a good thing. Maybe they don't even have a flagship show right now. So why not just not only downsize it, but just get rid of it? You know, like you don't get rid of like a Cartoon Network. You don't get rid of a network if you have a hit. You would only get rid of that if it's not performing and you have nothing because you're dissolving it completely.
Well, this is one of the shows like back when HBO cut those 30 shows. This is one of the shows that everybody lost their mind about. And everyone's like, well, they're cutting it because nobody knows what it is. So there's this mentality that it doesn't matter if the show's successful or not. It's what we want to put out there. And then, but like Zazzle is like, no, Zazzle's like, I'm cutting $3 billion from this deal that we made with Warner Brothers. I'm cutting $3 billion. And the places he's going to look at are places like this, places like Cartoon Network, where they have not turned a profit in so long. They're like, no, this has to go away.
Not only not a profit, but they don't really even have anything. Period.
Not producing any licenses.
Not producing anything. And for me, like when they say that it's being absorbed by Warner Animation, this was 20 years ago when I was pitching and I was going in like Cartoon Network and Kids WB and Nickelodeon and Disney and all these companies, there really was no Warner Brothers animation. Like it was feature. That's like what Warner Animation. It was feature animation, and Warner Brothers doesn't even really do any features anymore. So like when I was there was no Warner Animation. So when they say being absorbed by Warner Animation, I don't even know what the hell that means. Like, is there even a Warner Brothers Animation? You know what I mean? What did it get absorbed to?
I think it's they're folding it all under the Warner Animation brand,
Right.
but there's not an actual office yet. I think what's going to be, it's going to be an amalgam of all of it.
Yeah, I just wonder if
gonna
they're going to keep the Cartoon Network building, and then they're just going to call it Warner Animation,
It's
or if they're
impossible.
gonna downsize that and do like one of those hot desk models like DC Comics.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I don't
the
know.
thing
I think at this point, they're putting the lame horse to rest. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what will come out of it? Like, we'll see. But dude, they have to kill this horse because it's not working.
He says, well, the Cartoon Network art director, he said he's still got a job. So what that tells me is that they're taking some of the structure of Cartoon Network, they're supplanting that under the Warner Brothers Animation banner, and that they're going to create they're going to create a new structure from that, and that actually the brand is what that they're actually saving is Cartoon Network. So Cartoon Network as a separate entity no longer exists, but it's now going to exist as a brand underneath that.
So it's going to be, it's still going to exist as Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network, the channel is still going to exist, but as its own separate entity, it will no longer exist.
I mean, as
It
like
exists as a
like
brand.
an office, a studio, or whatever. So
Yeah.
they're going to keep the brand as far as like the network is concerned,
Right?
But just not the actual animation development and all that other stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff is going to be unfolded underneath
Let me
that
get
one
this.
brand.
This is Chad Townsend. As someone who worked for Warner Brothers Animation, and I don't know any inside info, I personally think it really that they have more than one studio within miles of each other. Yeah, they do, but the thing is, like, because there, like I said, there was Kids WB. That office was killer. It was way better than Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network is just like, it's kind of a bare bones. It's just an office building. But like the Warner Brothers office was kind of in the Kids WB, but it was more just like a tribute to features. They didn't really develop anything there. So they had like Iron Giant, cell animation on the wall and stuff like that. And they had a few offices, but it wasn't like a major facility. Hey Bob, we're getting like
I got it. Took care of it.
Yeah, we got the bot.
Oh wait. Chad still works. Chad, you want
Congrats, Chad. Congrats, Chad.
You want to come in here? I hope you still have a job.
Do it.
Good.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
In the sense of all like how they handle like their, first of all, the new IPs are few and far between that are iconic, because I don't know if we're the generation that we're dealing with of writers and creators and art directors and stuff like that. They lack life experience. That's just the be all end all of all of this. This is why new Netflix shows all suck, and it's just we're dealing with a generation of people that haven't really lived outside life, interaction with humans and all this shit. So the quality of there's no introspective anything. There's no like interpersonal thought that is connecting with any of the characters or the scripts or the concepts or anything like that. And it just has to do with the fact that they just don't have any life experience anymore. This is a household here that has 20 fucking Scooby-Doo straight to DVD movies and everything. And I have a 10-year-old daughter. I showed her the Velma thing. And I showed her Norville, who's supposed to be Shaggy. She fucking didn't know who they were. She was like, "Who's that?" So you're taking a decades-long fucking successful IP, and you're altering them for your whatever bullshit fucking message you want to send. But people who, even my daughter who's 10, who's well versed in Scooby-Doo, doesn't have a fucking clue what you're trying to show her. And okay, yeah, maybe they're trying to do an adult version, yeah, whatever, and that's gonna work. But they are just taking these characters and they are just essentially throwing them in the fucking garbage to make these new versions that no one can relate to.
You know what? I will say, like, I don't know who put this out, but it was called oh my gosh, what was it called? The Regular Show.
Yeah.
And it was like this bird and this skunk or something like that, or a porcupine. And it was kind of like it was like Wayne's World, right? It was kind of like these two guys that are like these metalheads, and they just kind of work at this like what is it, like a park or something, and they're just kind of maintenance guys, and they're just kind of hanging out, trying to score with chicks and stuff like that. And the cool thing about that show is where it just jumps the shark, is that there's this supernatural spin on it. So it's just this weird world that like supernatural shit just enters into the world. And so it starts off seemingly kind of relatable. It's like just two guys that are like trying to score with a girl or something. And then the next thing you know, like Satan comes in on a chopper and wants them to babysit his kid. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but you know what? I found it like, it was just so kind of weird and out there, but I thought it was fun and it was relatable, and the characters, you kind of do care about them because it's kind of serialized, so you kind of do get to follow them on their arcs and stuff like that. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought, because I'm a big Wayne's World fan, and I thought, wow, this is kind of like, these are like ripped right out of Wayne's World. If you had Wayne and Garth as animated characters.
Yeah, the character design was very interesting in that show.
Yeah, and then I thought what was an interesting choice is like, I think the creators did the voices, so it doesn't sound like it's overly produced. Like, it just sounds like two normal guys, sitting and talking. So it doesn't have that kind of polished like vocal performances and stuff. So I thought it was pretty cool. They drive around on a golf cart and just rip it up at the park. This is awesome, man. Yeah. I just thought it was fun. And that was like the last like really like kind of weird show that I remember seeing.
Well, I don't know. The last show I really enjoyed was Mike Tyson Mysteries. And
that was pretty good. But the Mike Tyson Mysteries were pretty funny.
Yeah.
That was
Norm Macdonald was he was
yeah, dude, rest in peace, bro.
Yeah,
it was Pigeon.
Yeah, he was a pigeon on there. He was freaking hilarious, man.
Yeah, that was an awesome concept.
Yeah.
I showed Pedro my next project, which is
it looks awesome, Waz.
Yeah,
looks awesome.
You.
Yeah.
I've got this thing. The next thing is I've got a 12-minute animated pilot for another property. But
Nice.
we've got like sound and everything done for all. It's written, it's recorded, and you just got to do animation and stuff like that. Yeah.
Very cool.
I have to go.
All right,
We'll be with your wife. Man.
Boo!
Yeah,
So
enjoy
sorry.
your night.
It's just your anniversary.
I know. Real quick, Boots and Heels launches this Friday at noon. We're going to be launching on Bancross Channel, and then I'll be hopping around, and then eventually we'll be on Camel Nights at midnight EST. No, 1 o'clock EST. And
Do you have a sign-up page?
I do, yeah. I can put it in a link if you want. Or I'm sure someone has it.
And then send it to me privately too on Twitter, and then I'll make sure it gets in the description when I after the show.
Okay, yeah. Let me. Here we go. So we're at about 450 emails.
Very cool.
Not too bad. We're at the 500 email mark. If we get there in a day and a half, I'm going to offer the $250 tier as a raffle, so someone can get it for free. We'll pick your name out of a hat. So, pretty good win if you get that email here, or I put it in the private chat.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
So, Anyway, but I have to go, and then we have the video game show tonight as well. So I'm very, very
enjoy your anniversary.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 3 years. Only
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Right,
47 to go.
You're a newbie. You're a newbie.
I am, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
It gets
There you go.
better.
it does. Oh, good. Very good. Yeah. All right. Thanks for having me. I'll try to be here all week next time. all show
what
next
we'll
week.
do is we'll talk about it a little bit after you leave, and we'll probably say really nice things about it, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then I'll put it in the description as well.
okay. All right. Great.
Right,
Boots and heels
man.
and
Take care.
boots and
All
heels
right.
and boots
Bye,
and
guys.
heels and boots and heels.
Take care. Boots and heels.
Details.
Boots and pants and boots and pants and boots.
Okay, let me share this. You know, I should let Bob do this because I'm going to try to play the video.
Yeah.
It's going to fuck up.
Well,
So
it's a
here's-
pre-launch page, man. So
Look at that, man.
Boots and heels.
Wow, look at that.
What was
This
that?
looks
Dan
like-
that looks like
Yeah,
Dan
this
Lawless.
is Dan Lawless. Yeah.
I can already recognize Dan Lawless's art. I like it so much. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Even though she doesn't have a pretty face, you can go, oh, that's a sexy Dan Lawless body.
Oh yeah, no, I love his colors, man.
Yeah. And so here's two of the covers here, Boots and Heels 0 through 3. Looks pretty awesome. And then here's some interiors. So get a link for the exclusive holofoil 0 wraparound cover. Where's the wrap?
Yeah,
Is
dude.
that what this black and white image is? Where's the wraparound cover?
Yeah, dude. I'm doing some animation for Camel Moon for this campaign, dude. And yeah, it's an awesome project, man.
So you guys come by and check out Camel Moon's Boots and Heels. This is 0 through 3, and you will get for your signature. What do you get?
Mm-hmm.
Massive time travel comic book containing Boots and Heels 1 through 6 and Claude Agent 1 through 6. The two stories intertwined to tell one maxi series tell by Camel Moon Studios. It doesn't say what you get. Usually you get something free, like a trading card or something like that. For signing up. So it doesn't say here, but I'm sure there'll be something.
Yeah, and Camel's not here to answer that.
Right. So anyway, there you go, Camel. That's the best we could do.
well,
Yeah.
I dropped the link to the pre-launch page in the chat. So go out there, check it out for yourselves, guys.
Oh, he says,
there you go.
you just get the link for the wraparound cover option. Oh, okay. There you go.
Very cool. Thanks, Camel.
All right. Well, you want to switch gears a little bit and get into some of this Black Adam shenanigans, and then we'll close out the show.
Oh, wait. Before we go into Black Adam,
No.
this is a time for tourism. Now, we're going to the beautiful country of Paraguay. And, dude, I want you all to visit Latin America. I don't want you to get like a bad impression of this, but this is a fight between true trans prostitutes and a drunk guy over 125. It's 10,000 Guarani. It's $1.25. And they're fighting because three guys wanted to take one prostitute out for $1.25, and they're fighting over that.
So the prostitute only charges $1.25.
Yeah, but three guys wanted to go at it for $1.25.
I love every
That-
part
hey.
of the story so far.
Yeah.
That's an entertainment value.
Yeah,
I
and
can't.
this fight was so good they turned it into a punk song. So without further ado, let me know when you guys are ready.
Oh boy.
Can you see this?
Yes.
This is the news.
A mí me sobra plata, 10,000 guaraní en mi casa.
That's a dude.
10,000 guaraní me iba a quedar porque me sobra plata y él me quería. Entre tres me quisieron dar 10,000 guaraní y yo le dije que no, por un 10,000 no me van a llevar. No, por eso se enojaron porque le dije que tres.
So he said between three guys, they wanted to give me 125, and I said no. That's why they got mad.
Me quisieron dar 10,000 guaraní y yo le dije que no, por un 10,000 no me van a llevar. No, por eso se enojaron porque le dije que no.
Okay, this guy's supposed to be speaking Spanish, but he's so drunk, nobody understands him. That's why you get the subtitles down here.
Nice. Oh wow.
So they're like that guy, it's passive. So he wanted to get, he was on the receiving end, and he wanted his 10,000 guarani, his 125 back. I'm just eating barbecue. I'm just here on my own eating barbecue. That's all he's saying to the police.
I can't get past that they're not even women. Those are two men.
Yeah, they're dudes. He's a drunkard, and he wanted back his 125.
Dude, you can get a male prostitute for $1.25.
Yes, sir.
I can't even get a bagel for that.
Yep. And dude, that's the thing.
You can get a balloon knot though.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
Oh,
Dinky Frankie
boy.
says $1.25 might be overpaying. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. Paraguay is a country where you can have fun for cheap. And actually, there's really good things about Paraguay. I don't want you guys to get the wrong impression, but the tourist board is going to be showing you amazing videos from all of Latin America, and you can see how much fun you can have for a little money.
Well, the tourist board should show that little scene.
Yeah.
Hey, Art.
Yes.
Maybe we should save the Black Adam thing for next week.
Yeah, it is getting a little late,
Yeah.
man.
Well, there's a lot of other people that are streaming right now too, and we're flagging off. So.
All right, man. Well, sorry about that, Clint.
No worries.
With something next week. So
basically, I'll sum it up real quick. Basically, The Rock is stealing everything he can from Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
and he's teasing Superman like hell, like Ryan Reynolds has been teasing Wolverine for the last decade.
Because he wants to get in a scene with
no, he wants to do a 3-movie project with Black Adam versus Superman eventually.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it.
Yeah, and guess what? It's gonna happen. Like Warner Brothers is gonna jump to work out with Rock for 3 movies.
Yeah,
at least there will be a versus that is worthy of a real fight versus Batman v Superman, which was like, what the hell are you doing, man?
But do you feel like this is like the first clever DC move in this whole like movie universe? I don't know.
Is this DC or is this The Rock that's actually promoting?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, The Rock is just going and taking his chunk. He sees Warner Brothers floundering in the water, and The Rock just prints money at movies.
Yeah,
and you know what The Rock wants? The Rock wants action figures. The Rock can actually merchandise
that guy did that shit movie Skyscraper, and it made bank.
Dude, that movie was bad.
It was
terrible.
But it made bank because he was in it.
It's The Rock.
The Rock's not losing money on movies he's making.
No,
even that
he's the new Arnold. He's the new Arnold.
Horrible. What was it? Jungle Cruise.
Jungle Cruise.
It was pretty bad. But you know what? The remake of Jumanji was actually the first one. Was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
the Jumanji movies have been entertaining, and also The Rock and Henry Cavill have the same agent.
Yep.
It's The Rock's ex-wife.
Yeah.
So it's like it all. Yeah.
Yeah, that does help.
But, but hey, if it brings Henry Cavill back as Superman, I'm all for it.
Dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
All they need to do is get a good reason why these two would be at odds, and then you have yourself a franchise. Just a battle royale.
The Rock does well with his comedic stuff too. I mean, he's fine in delivering his punchlines. He does fine in comedies.
No,
even in the movies that he's bad in, he's actually fun.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. It's like Arnold. Arnold made a lot of bad movies,
right?
But Arnold was fun in them.
But you like him, yeah.
I definitely think that's the case. That'd be great to see. I've seen some of the Black Adam clips, and they don't look bad.
I just think Sabek is not a great movie. Sabek's not a great villain because he's not that impressive.
but he's just a placeholder for the next thing, and it'll be the Superman Black Adam rivalry. You know.
Yeah, they have to do that.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. I know there's a lot of competition. We do appreciate everybody for hanging in here.
I think we had a ton of people in here at one point.
Yeah,
Nealon was in here. Aaron Lopresti was in here. Tommy Mark. So thank all those guys for showing up.
And then Ethan and Dan both started at the same time. It's like day 2 of Fragtober, and I was like, well, shit.
No,
the best thing about Pontificators, though, is that people get it on the rerun. Like we do well, like after, like the live streams. I mean, we do pretty good, but after that, we double and triple the numbers. So a lot of people come around to it. You know,
so let's thank all the people that show up and watch us after the fact. If you ain't here live, we appreciate you guys showing up and watching us after the fact. So thank you very much for that.
Yes, and we're gonna keep building this thing. The Pontificators. God, I don't even know how long we've been. Todd, how long have we been doing this show?
It seems like 3 years, doesn't it?
Yeah, because we went on a hiatus for about 3 or 4 months, and then we came back.
Yeah, and we came back strong. All right, man. Well, thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to everybody on the panel. I think we kicked some ass. And thanks for all the super chats. You guys are the best. And we'll see you next week, next Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern for another Pontificators. So take care. Be good to each other, and we'll see you next week.